Hey everyone, welcome to day 30, and today we will be continuing with the e-commerce app. We'll be integrating Redux Toolkit, and we'll also implement the search and filter functionality for the products that we have. All right, so it's been quite a journey so far that we have completed 30 sessions, and I'm pretty happy that we have made it so far. Majority of the topics which I wanted to teach you guys, they are complete, and just a few more topics to go, and I guess a couple of more weeks to go. All right, so let's start with today's session. Let me start things up. So what I will do is I will create a new branch, day 2 RTK, and RTK and filter. Okay, I'll just start the project pnpm dev. Let's open this here. So this is where we had left off yesterday, right? We were displaying the list of products, and this is what we had so far, right? Now what we want to do is we want to, whenever we're clicking on add to cart, we want this count to increase, right? So let's work on that functionality. In order to do that, what we will be learning, what we will be using is Redux. We'll be creating a store, and that store will basically keep track of all the cart items which have been added. So let's take a look at what is Redux to begin with. All right. So I have a link with me. Let's go through that real quick. So basically we use, Redux whenever we want to do a global state management, right? We have some state uh, which needs to be used throughout our application. So in such scenarios, we make use of Redux, and there are some libraries and tools which allow us to use Redux. So the first one is React Redux, which basically provides some hook to read the values from a store, right? And to dispatch actions. So it is quite similar to the state management approach which we had learned a couple of sessions ago using use context and use reducer, right? So prior to introduction of hooks, we did not have any sort of state management in React. So there was no concept of a use reducer, and we had to depend on external libraries such as Redux and other variations of it to do app level state management. So this is what was widely used before the use reducer hook came along, and this was the go-to approach for managing app level state or global state. And so this is a basically a package which provides certain hooks to dispatch actions and read data from the store. Okay, then we have Redux Toolkit. So basically, in order to set up Redux, you need to do quite a lot of you need to write quite a lot of code, and they have created Redux Toolkit. The team which is behind Redux, they have created their own implementation of how Redux should be set up. So that package is known as Redux Toolkit. This is what we will be using to configure a store and dispatch actions and all of those things. So this is the uh, tool for that. And then there is a extension available in Chrome and a few other browsers as well, which allows us to inspect the store, see what values are there, how the values were updated, and it kind of allows us a time machine of sorts where you can go back to a previous state, and when you go back to the state, it will automatically show the UI associated with that state. So it is a pretty handy tool. We look at this as well. Okay, so in general, we'll just go through this. So there, I mean, it's mentioned over here, state describes the condition of the app at a specific point in time. UI is rendered based on that state, right? So for example, we were building these counter apps, right? Whenever initially the counter was 0, then when we clicked on a button, the value of counter was updated to 1. So the state the state got updated, and the UI associated with that state, that was also updated, right? So that is what is meant by this. So uh, whenever user clicks on a button, like how we were clicking on the counter button, right? The state is updated, then the UI is re-rendered based on the new state. So this is what basically happens. uh, the state is associated with a view. Something happens on the UI which causes some action happens on the UI which is responsible for modifying the state. Then the state is modified, then once again the UI is updated. So this is what this diagram is trying to tell us. Then another principle which is associated with this is known as immutability. What that means is whenever you're updating your state, right, uh, we never modify the existing value directly. Instead, we make a new copy out of it, and then you know uh, switch that new updated copy and set that as the new state. And the reason why we do this is because uh, in order for Redux to understand what is changed, right, it's easy for it to understand that this is a new copy of the previous object and this is the old one. So it does not go through which property was exactly changed. It just checks whether a new object was available or not. So it's easier to track updates to the state when you are making copies of it and then directly updating the state rather than updating an individual property. So it's easier to do that. So this is what is meant by immutability, that you never modify the existing object, you make a copy of it, you modify that copy and replace the copy. All right. So that is what is being described over here. And we have an action basically which has a type which describes what exactly happened, and then there is something known as a payload, which basically we provide that field to indicate the data associated with that action, right? And this is what there is in general. And I mean, over here we'll just check how we would do it, how we would set up a Redux store. So there is a configure store function provided by Redux Toolkit, and let's see. So this is like the general thing which happens. We have a store which consists of a reducer and a state. So suppose there is some event happening on the UI, right? And whenever that event happens, a new action is dispatched. That action goes to the store. Based on the type of action which occurred, the reducer modifies the state. Once the state is modified, right, um, the UI is updated. So this is what is being shown over here, right? So user clicks, then an action is dispatched, it goes to the store, right? The amount is updated, the state is updated, and then $10 are basically deposited. Okay, so this is what this is about. Uh, some of you are complaining about noise from the mic. Let me check. Um, is it still breaking for you guys, or is it fine? Or is it happening with everyone? Is it still breaking? You can let me know in the comments. It's still breaking. Okay, let me check why this is happening. Is it better now? Okay, so it's not breaking now, right? All right, great. Okay, fine. So, um, let's get started with this part. Okay, how to set up a Redux store. So let's go inside our code. We need to do some installation. All right. So what we will do is we'll add some packages. So pnpm add the rate redux js slash toolkit, and then we need to add react redux as well. Okay, so these two have been added. Now let's create a store. So we will create a file known as store.js, and here we will say configure store. So we will import this from Redux Toolkit, and here what we will do is we'll say export const store equals configure store, and what this basically accepts is a reducer object, and here we pass different reducers. All right, and we'll go inside our app component, and here what we will do is we will say import provider from React Redux, and we need to import store from dot slash store. Let's check. Yeah. Okay. And then here what we will do is just before our route provider, we will uh, We will wrap the entire thing in this, in the provider which we got from React Redux. Okay, and here we'll say store equals the store which we just set up, right? And we will just say provider here. Okay, so this is basically setting up the store and making it accessible throughout the app. Now we'll create a what do you say, we'll add a reducer. Okay, so when the advantage of using Redux Toolkit is that you can have different reducers which are responsible for managing different paths of your state. Okay, so we will write a reducer which is just responsible for managing updates to the cart. All right, so for that what we will do is we'll create a folder, let's call it as feature, and here we'll create something known as a slice. So cart slice dot js, and here what we will do is we will say um, create slice. This is a function that we are importing from toolkit, and what we will do here is we'll say const cart slice equals create slice, and here we'll pass an object. So we'll give this slice a name which is cart, and we'll give it the initial state. Okay, so let's specify this over here. So we'll just say initially the cart has value which is an empty array. All right, and what we will do is we will say export default cart slice dot reducer. Okay, so pretty easy that we whatever is returned by this that we are specifying over here, and then we'll go to our store. Okay, we'll create a store over here known as cart, and we will uh, import cart reducer from dot slash feature slash cart slice, and we will pass a reference of the cart reducer over here. Okay, let's go to our app, let's open the developer tools. So I already have the Redux Toolkit extension installed on my machine. Okay, so you can see that we have this cart object visible over here because we have added that to the state, and you can see a chart over here. So initially it is showing that the value of the cart is empty, right? And let's start adding products to the cart, and let's make use of this functionality. Okay, so and then we'll come back to how to use the Redux um, extension in the browser. So you guys are still, is it still breaking once again, the voice? Let me check. I don't know what's the problem. The settings are the same as before. Okay, fine. All right. So let's add that logic for basically adding product inside the cart. So what we will do here is just to test this, let's go inside the pages. We are inside home, right? And this is the button for that. And what we want to do is whenever we click on this, let's create a function over here. Let's get rid of this now. Function add product to cart, and we'll send the product over here. And in order to so what we want to do over here is we want to dispatch an action, right, which will add that product to the cart. And wherever we are using, wherever we want to you know display the products which have been added to the cart, we'll use the cart state. Okay, so in order to dispatch an action, we make use of the dispatch function, which is provided by the use dispatch hook coming from React Redux. Okay, so this will give us access to the dispatch function. And what we want to do is we want to dispatch a particular action, right? So what we will be doing is we'll be going to um, where is it, our card slice.js. Let's create an action over here. So there is another property known as reducers, right? And here let's create an action add to cart. Okay, and this accepts a state and it accepts an action, right? So we are providing the function right here. Let's log the action here, and we'll just say state dot value dot push. Now, why are we able to do something like this? I had just explained to you guys that, whenever we are using a reducer, and we should ensure that whatever state that we are returning, it is immutable. So we are actually modifying the state object directly. The reason why we are able to do such a thing is because we are using something known as immerjs, right? uh, which basically allows us to manage you know so suppose you have something like this, right? And generally whenever we update the state, we do next state is dot dot dot. We basically create a copy of the existing state, and then we basically uh, so here we're creating a new copy of the array. The thing that we want to modify, we spread across it, right? And then we are uh, pushing that updated state. But when we use something like immer, we can directly do the modification over here, because behind the scenes immer takes care of immutability. And that is why we're able to do such a thing. So another benefit of using Redux Toolkit is that under the hood it uses immer, so you don't have to do all of this funny business. You can just directly do the modification on the state itself. Okay, and immer will take care of maintaining the it will take care that the state remains immutable. All right, so this is the link for that. You guys can check this out. Okay, so we are just saying over here state dot value dot push action dot payload. Okay, so payload is a special property uh, which is available, and what we want to do is we want to say export const add. So what we will do over here is we'll say cart slice. This is our cart slice, and we are interested in the actions. Okay, and here we will just say add to cart. You can see the auto complete is available to us. Okay, and then inside home.jsx we will say dispatch, and we will get the action add to cart, right, which is coming from this slice, and we will basically call this function, and we will pass the payload over here, and we will pass the product, and we will specify a quantity over here. So by default we will set the quantity to 1. Okay, so this is what we are giving as the payload. And here we will say add product to cart, and so this will be called with the product. What were we using over here? We had the title, ID, price, description, rating, and image. And let's take all of these. So this is the product that we are passing. Okay, and let's see if when we click on this, right, add to cart, is it adding the product where it needs to add. Let me click on add to cart, and you can see that we have some value over here now, right? So we have a product and we have a quantity over here. Let's add another product, and you can see another product has been added. Okay, and this is the difference between the previous state and the new state. This new product was added, and these are the actions which have happened so far, right? Okay, now what we want to do is we want to show the count of products which have been added to the cart over here. So what we will do is we will go inside the header component, and we want to access the cart, right? So here we will say that const cart equals use selector. So this is another hook which is coming from the uh, React Redux package, right? And here we will have access to the state, and this accepts a callback function, and from the state we are interested in, which one is it? So if we go back to Redux, right, so the name of the object that we are interested in is cart, right? So this is available in the state. Okay, uh, so you can see these are the different values which are there. So we are interested in state.cart, and within that we are interested in the value. All right, okay, and this should give us the cart items actually. And what we will do here is that let's write a function. Let's create a file known as utils.js, and what we will be doing is we'll create a function over here, export function get item count, and this will get the cart items, right? And we'll say return cart dot red cart items dot reduce. So this is the built-in function, right? And this accepts a callback. So we are interested in the sum as well as uh, the item cart item. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to do cart item dot quantity, and we want to add this to the sum, and the default value for sum, right, this parameter is 0. Okay, so what we're doing is basically going through all of the cart items and summing up the quantities, the value of quantity. Okay, so this will basically add, so initially sum is 0, right? So for the first object it will add the quantity with 0, then we move on to the next cart item, and whatever was the previous sum, right, that will be made available here. Then we will add that quantity with the whatever was the previous count. Okay, so we can also call this as count, right? And let's use this over here. Where is it? Inside the header, and we will say const count equals get cart. What did we call that function? Get item count, and here we will just pass the cart items. All right, and where we had the badge, we'll be showing the cart, sorry, the count. All right, so you can see that we have two items right now in the cart, right? So it is showing the count as 2. Let's add another item, and it is updating the count over here to 3. Okay, so whatever we are adding to our cart, it is updating that count over here. So far we have learned how to create a store, right? So this is how we created a store. Then we were interested in managing the state associated with a cart, right? So we wrote a reducer for that, uh, which is this one, cart reducer, and it is taking me back to the definition. So the reducer we have defined over here inside this cart slice, and we created a slice, we gave it a name, we gave it an initial state. So by default the cart is empty, so we created a property known as value. Then we defined a reducer over here, right, and which is add to cart, which accepts a state and an action. And if we take a look at the logs over here, it should show you the action over here, right? So the payload is this, and then this is the action cart slash add to cart, right? So automatically it is generating the action for us over here. When we do cart slice dot action, it automatically creates a action creator for us, which you would have to do manually if you are not using Redux Toolkit. So it provides a lot of abstraction over Redux, and then we export this action, right? And when we want to dispatch an action, we make use of the hook use dispatch, which is coming from React Redux package, and then we are basically saying dispatch this action, add to cart, and we provide the data associated with that action, which is available as payload. Once we do that, it comes over here, it sees, okay, this is the function, this is the action which happened, right, based on the type, and we are just updating the state, which is this, basically the cart, and we are updating the value, and we are adding the new product inside it. So this is how we were able to do all of those things using Redux Toolkit. All right, so I hope this part is clear to you guys. Now let's do some more changes over here. What we want to do is we want to be able to filter out the products over here. We'll add a drop down for category, and we'll add a autocomplete control over here from material UI, which will allow us to search through all the products which are there. So let's work on that functionality now. So here's what we will be doing. um, the first thing that we want to do is we want to go to header, and we'll create a component function search bar. Okay, and inside this we will say return h1. This is the search bar, and let's add the search bar over here. Okay, so we have the search bar over here, and what we want to say over here, that let's remove this from here, and let's work on the functionality associated with the search bar. So we will have const search equals styled. So we want to create we want to provide custom properties to a particular element. So let's use another syntax which is available in Emotion. All right, so this is known as the style syntax. Let me import this package. So import styled from material UI slash styles. Okay, and another thing that we need is alpha. Okay, and here we will say we want to create a styled section. Okay, and this will basically get a callback which will have the theme object inside it. And we'll be returning an object over here. Okay, so we want to set the position for this as relative. Then we want to say border radius. We'll get that from the theme. We'll go inside the shape and we will pick the border radius. Then we will say display to flex. Then background color. We make use of the alpha function which we had imported from here. So what this allows us to do is provide an opacity. So theme dot palette dot common. We are picking the white color and we're giving it an opacity of 0.15, right? And then when we hover over this, right, so we'll use a select over here. In that case, the background color should change a bit, and we will change the opacity to 0.25, which is 25%. Okay, and then let's set a margin, right? and we will say theme dot spacing. So spacing is a function which provides the default spacing. So default spacing is 8 pixels. We want twice of that, which will give us 16. And then margin left, we will set that to 0. And we'll say that the width for this is 100%. All right, let's save this. And here let's return the search. Okay, this search element which we just created, let's see if it is showing up. Components. So you can see that it created this search element, right? uh, we need to add more things inside it. Okay, so for that purpose what we will be doing is we need to add, let's go to material UI, and let's go for the autocomplete component. We want to add the autocomplete component, right? So let's copy this, and we want to style this as well. So before we do all of that, let's just paste this here, and inside this we want to display all of the products which are available, right? So we are already fetching the products here on the home screen. Let's make it such that it is available everywhere, right? So for that purpose we'll add the list of products to the store. So let's see how we can do that now. Okay, so we'll go inside the feature, we'll create a slice for managing the products, right? So we'll say product slice dot js. We'll use the create slice function, and we'll say const products slice equals create slice. We'll give this a name which is products, right? And let's give this initial state. So the value for the products is an empty array, and we want to be able to fetch those products, right? And let's export this products. So let's export this reducer. So export default products slice dot reducer, and we will add this reducer to our store over here. So we'll create another key known as products, and we will pass the products reducer, and we'll fetch the reducer from the product slice. Let's call this as products reducer. Okay, if are we missing any changes? Let me comment this for just a bit, and if that state has been set up correctly, we can see that the cart is empty, right? And we have products available over here. So we have defined a new reducer which will just be responsible for managing the state of products within our app. So earlier we were fetching all of the products inside our home component, right? Over here, let's do one thing. Let's take this function and move this logic from our component to our reducer. All right, so for that purpose, hang on a sec, I lost that. Okay, so if you look at this cart slice, right, we had added a reducer over here, but the thing is, reducers only work with synchronous operations, right? And what we want to do over here is we want to fill up these products, and the process of filling up the product is an asynchronous operation. So we cannot directly write this logic inside our reducer because reducers are synchronous by default. Okay, so in order to do some sort of an asynchronous action, we need to use another concept known as a thunk. Okay, so what this basically does is that it dispatches an asynchronous action once the result of that asynchronous uh, action is available. It triggers another action, it dispatches another action which will then modify the state uh, which is associated with this action. All right, so let's see how we do that. So we'll say create async thunk, and then here we will say export const fetch all products. Let's just copy this name over here, and this is equal to create async thunk, and we will provide a name over here for the action. So it is products slash fetch all. Okay, so this is the name, this is the type of action which will get dispatched whenever we basically whenever we want to fetch all products. Then what we want to do is we'll make use of, this is an async operation, right? And here we will say we will add this logic from here. We have the response, and then here we will just say return. We will wait for the response converted to JSON. Once it is available, right, we will return the object over here. And let's get rid of this. And here we cannot use a regular reducer, right? So instead what we will do is we'll make use of another property known as extra reducers, and we'll use something known as a builder. Okay, and what this will allow us to do is we can have different cases over here. Builder dot add case fetch all products. So we know that this is a promise based action, right? So when we use a builder, so we know that a promise has different stages, right? uh, it is in the pending state when your promise has not been resolved so far. It is fulfilled once the whether when the promise has been rejected or resolved, it goes into the fulfilled state, right? So to handle what happens whenever this particular this particular action has been dispatched, and this is basically returning a promise, and that promise is initially it might be in the pending state, and we want to do something in that case. And once the promise has been resolved, right, once the promise has been fulfilled, we want to update the state over here, right? So what we will be doing is, let's add another variable over here known as loading. Let's set that to false. So we can use this variable to indicate the products are being fetched. So we will add a case over here known as fulfilled. Okay, and when the case is fulfilled, right, we will get a callback over here which will, and we'll pick up the state, and we'll just say this is the value of the state, right? We'll say state dot loading equals true. Okay, and let's add another case over here. Builder dot add case when the sorry, we want to do this when it is in the pending state. Once it has been fulfilled, right? That means this statement has been executed. Okay, in that case we'll take the state as well as the action, and we will say state dot value equals action dot payload, because whatever is the response that will be available in the payload, and we are basically setting the we are setting that to the value. And once the value has been set, that means it's no longer loading the product, so we'll say state dot loading equals false. All right, and what we want to do over here is we'll go inside the home component. Here we were using this use effect, right? So instead, now products will be available from our state. I mean, it will be coming from the store, right? So we'll say use selector, and we will say state. We have access to the state, and from the state we want to access the products, and of the products we want to access, actually let's get the products itself. And yeah, let's get this. And here, what instead of doing all of this, what we will do is we will check if products question mark dot value dot length. Okay, if the products, if there are no products, right, we want to fetch the products, so we will say dispatch, and we want to dispatch this action fetch all products. Okay, so dispatch fetch all products. Let's save this, and let's see if products.map is not a function. Okay, wait, here we are interested in the value, right? So const value comma loading equals products. Let's call this as products state. And let's give this an alias. Let's call this as products, right? And here we don't need to do that check now. Okay, so you can see that let's do a refresh, and we see over here that we are getting all the products inside the products array over here. Okay, and let's do an add to cart. So I was talking to you guys about this where is it, the timeline functionality, right? So initially it is like this, you can see everything is empty. Then when we are let's jump to this state. Okay, so you can see that the value for the products is empty right now, and you can see all of the, I mean, the state has been updated accordingly. Now let's say that the state is fulfilled. So let's jump to this state, and now you can see that the values are available and it has been rendered. So the part, the part where I was talking about, it gives us a time machine of sorts. So based on the action which occurred, we can go back to, a previous state in time, and when we jump to that action, it will update the UI accordingly. Now I clicked on add to cart right over here 3 times. Let's jump to this one. So you can see that the first time when I clicked on add to cart, the count was 1. When I clicked on it again, the count was 2, and then when I clicked on it for a third time, the count was 3. If I go back to this one, it's once again 2. So it is basically showing us the value for the cart as well for that at that point of time. Okay. uh, so this is the benefit of using this. Using this particular functionality. Let's jump to this state now. All right. So are there any questions so far? Okay, if there are no questions, then we will move back. Let's start working on the search functionality now. Let's go inside the header, right? And we want to, let's add this autocomplete. We need to import it. Import autocomplete from material UI slash autocomplete. And the options that we want to use over here are the products. So we want to get the products from the state, right? So I'll say use selector state and state dot products dot value. Okay, and here we will say that we want to provide the options, right? So we'll say array dot from whatever are the products. We will specify over here, we'll pick the prod, and the options are expected to be in a certain format. So it expects an id, so let's use prod.id, and it is expecting a label, so we'll say prod.title, right? And let's do a refresh. Text field is not defined. Okay, we need to import the text field as well. Import text field from material UI slash text field. And the reason why I am doing it like this, you know, going inside a particular folder so that we only import the code from this package that is required for us. Okay, instead of importing the entire material UI library, which is very heavy and bulky, we are just importing the files that we need. Okay. um So you can see that we have this text movie being shown to us, and we are seeing all of the products here, right? So let's work on So we have added this, autocomplete function, right? We clear on this, it is removing, we are able to search something like men's cotton jacket. So we have, whenever we select that, it is showing that. And here what we want to do is, let's get rid of the label here. We don't want that. Okay. And the other thing that we want to display here is the um, we want to display a select over here. So select, it is another control which we'll get from material UI. So import select from MUI material slash select. All right, and then here we'll say select, and here let's set the size to small. Okay, so we have this select, and we'll be using this to basically show all the different categories of products which are available. Okay, and let's style this select. So we'll say SX, and let's add some properties. We'll specify the margin, we'll use the spacing 1. Okay, and let's target this same element, and within this let's do one thing first. Let's specify the variant. We want to use the standard variant, which is this one with the underline. Then let's give a label ID. So it is selected category and ID selected category ID. Okay. Before we do any further styling, let's do one thing. Let's show the options in here. So for displaying the options, right, we make use of a component known as a menu item. So let's import that. Import menu item from the menu item folder, and here we are going to say the first menu item that we want to show, right, its value equals all, and the text we want to display here is all as well. What seems to be the problem? Okay, so you can see that it is showing the text all, and the rest of the menu items we will get from the API, right? So let's do one thing. Let's create a reducer for that as well. So categories slice.js, And here what we will do is create slice, not create slice, create slice, not style slice, x not export, const categories slice equals create slice. Let's give this the name categories, not vc, categories. And let's create the initial state for this value. Let's set this as empty. And for this also we need, since we are fetching the categories from an API, we need an asynchronous action for this. So we'll say create async thunk, and it is product slash categories. And let's copy this as well. Need to make use of extra reducers, so here we'll say fetch all categories, and here we'll say categories. This is the name of the action, fetch all, and here we'll say fetch all categories pending, fetch all categories fulfilled. And let's provide the loading state over here, set it to false. And here we'll say export default categories slice dot reducer. And inside our store, let's add another key, categories, and get the category slice, get the reducer, pass it over here. If the setup is fine, we should see this right here inside our store. Okay, so we are able to see the categories as well. Now what we want to do is, let's go inside the header, and inside the search bar we want to say const categories equals use selector state dot categories dot value. Then we will check if not categories dot length. In that case, we will dispatch an action. So we need to use the use dispatch hook. Use dispatch from React, not React, React Redux package, and we'll say dispatch, and we want to fetch all categories, and this is the action that we want to dispatch, right, which has been defined over here. Yeah, I think this should work fine. And then here inside our select, we will say categories dot map, we get the category, and this will basically return a menu item whose value is equal to the category, rather the category, right? And the text is the category as well. Actually, let's rename this category And here we will give this a key as well, and let's assign that to the category value also. Okay, so you can see that uh, it is basically fetching all of the categories, adding the categories to the store. So these are the values: electronics, jewelry, men's clothing, and women's clothing. And we are showing all of the categories over here. All is, we have added that by default. And what we want to do here is that now let's style this particular component. Okay. And before that, let's do another thing. Let's say const selected. Let's use the use state snippet. Use state snippet selected category, and the initial value is all. Uh, and here we'll say value equals selected category. So, and we need to import the use state. So it is showing the selected category as all. Let's change it to electronics. So we need to provide the on change for this. Function handle category change equals this, not equals. This will get the event object. And what we want to do is set selected category. Let's get the value const value equals event dot target, and here we want to say that this is the updated category. What is this saying? Yeah, and here we want to say handle category change. Okay, electronics, jewelry. So this is working perfectly. All right. Okay. Then the next thing that we want to do is let's style this a bit. And here we want to say text transform. We want to capitalize all of the text, right? So we'll specify this as capitalize, and we'll do it for, actually let's try and add this property here. Okay, so you can see that the selected category has been transformed, but this is not taking effect. So let's style this text transform capitalize. Okay, so now all of these values are showing up capitalized, and we need to do that for this as well. Okay, the next thing that we want to do is whenever we are selecting a particular category, right, it should filter the products and only show products of that category. So for that purpose, what we will be doing is we will add this selected category to our URL over here. Okay, so this is what we will be doing. We will navigate. We'll make use of the navigate hook, which is coming from React Router DOM, and we will say navigate, and here we will check if selected category equals all, right? In that case, we want to specify, we just want to navigate to the default route. Otherwise, what we will be saying is that let's say slash question mark category equals dollar selected, whatever was the value for that category. Okay, we'll go to that route. Okay, let's change the category electronics. Okay, cannot update rendering a div to locate. So we're getting these two errors for some CSS properties. I think we had used the line clamp over here, right? So let's fix that quickly. Let's go inside home. Let's search for line clamp. So this we can specify as web kit line clamp like this, and this one as webkit box orient. Okay, let's see if we're still getting those errors here. Okay, so those errors are gone. Let's try to change the URL. So you can see that as we're changing this, it is updating the uh, category over here, right, in the URL also. Okay, so based on the category that we are setting to the URL, we want to show those products with the matching category. Okay, let's add that logic. Let's go inside our home component, and here what we will do is to read this value, right, we need to make use of another hook. So we'll say const search params equals use search params. This is another hook which is coming from React Router DOM. Okay, this one, and we want to get the category, right? So const category equals search params dot get the name of this key, right, which is category. All right, and here what we want to do is we want to specify that let filtered products. Okay, so first we will check that if category is there, if category and category equals all, right? If that is the case, sorry, if it's not equal to all, in that case we will say products dot filter. We want to get those products which uh, whose category equals the category which we are getting from the search params. Okay, otherwise we just return the products as it is. And then here we will say filtered products dot map, and let's try and change the category. So you can see that the category was men's clothing, right? So it's only showing those products which are inside the men's clothing category. Let's change this to electronics, and you can see we are seeing only products which are electronics. And similarly for women's clothing and men's clothing. And if we set this to all, you can see that it is showing us all the products. But what we want to do over here is that when the category is all right, we just want to navigate to, we don't want to show category all like this. So for that, let's go back to the header, and we need to actually read the category from the URL. So const, let's add that same logic over here which we had inside the home. So let's copy these two lines, and here we will say that uh, we are getting the category from the the URL, right? And here we will check that whatever is the category, if it is all okay. Actually, let's add a effect over here. Use effect, and here we will say that this is dependent on the value of category. Whenever the category is changing, we will say set selected category, and we will set that category over here. Okay, and let's get rid of this. So we'll update it in the URL. Once it gets updated there, this will change, and we will basically check over here, selected category equals all, then we'd show that. Otherwise, use search params is not defined, so we need to import this. Okay, let's say electronics, men's clothing, women's clothing, then let's say all. Hmm. say yeah, that is what we should be working on. Electronics, when it's all, in that case we will just display all of them and the URL remains that. And now let's work on this part. mm, Set selected category. Why did it not show that value over here inside this? Let's check once. So we're getting some errors over here. Do search. Okay. Uh, this is for a different reason. Select the available values are all. You have provided an out of range value. Let's see. If category is there, right? Uh, Actually, let's do it like this. If category, then we display that category. Otherwise, we set this to all. Okay. Let's change this to jewelry, men's clothing. Let's go back to all. Okay, now it's working correctly. And let's do one thing here. Let's set this to empty initially. All right. So this is what it is. So we are able to filter based on the category that we are selecting here, right? The next thing that we want to be able to do is when whatever we are typing here, right? We want to be able to filter out based on that. Show only the product which is matching this. Okay. So the other thing that we want to do over here is that we have the what are we passing over here, products, right? So here we will check selected category equals all. In that case, we show all the products. Otherwise, we'll say products dot filter prod, and then prod dot category equals selected category. Okay. So this is for ensuring that we are only showing those results in the drop down with the matching category. So in jewelry, there are only four items, right? So we'll only filter based, we'll only show those products in the category. And for men's clothing, uh, these are the only items available, right? The next thing that we want to do is whenever we are selecting something from here, right? We want to only show that particular product here. So let's work on that functionality. Mm, So we have our autocomplete. On change, and what we are getting over here is an object. We get the event as well as the value. Let's see, let's log this value to the console whenever a change happens, right? Okay, let's go to the console, and let's see. So whenever we are changing something, the value is the option which we had set, right? So what we want to do is, let's define a function over here, function handle uh, products, or handle search change, and this function will accept a search term. Okay, and what we want to do is, yeah, we will say handle search change, and we will specify value dot label here, and in here we will check if the search term is there, right? We want to say navigate, and we will check selected category equals all. In that case, we just want to append the search term. Okay, so we will say question mark search term equals dollar search term. Otherwise, what we want to do is, we will say question mark category equals dollar selected category, and search term equals dollar search term, something like this. Else, if the search term is not there, what we want to do is, let's copy this, paste this here. If the category is all right, we just want to navigate to slash, and if category is not all, we want to navigate to this function. And since we are modifying, we have let's try this out now. Select uh, a product, so you can see that it is updating that in the URL, right? And when we are clearing this, it is removing that from the URL. When we are adding this, it's adding that to the URL, right? Okay, and uh, another scenario that we want to handle over here is that when we are changing this to all right, uh, say we are changing the category to electronics, and there is some search term available, we should show that search term here. Okay, so let's add that logic over here, and here we will say that uh, if the category is all, we display slash, And then otherwise we check over here that if there is a search term, right? If the search term is available, so we need to get the search term from the URL as well. So what we will do here is we will say const search term equals search params dot get search term. To avoid confusion, let's call this as the search text and this one as the search term. If the search term is there, in that case, we will say that we want to return and search term equals plus search term. Otherwise, we return an empty string. Okay, so let's try this out. We'll select something and let's change the category, say jewelry. um, it cleared that. Let's test this. What is the value of search term? We're getting some warnings, but we'll fix this. None of the options match with. Okay, we'll see why that is happening. So is option equal to value? Okay, let's fix this issue first. Auto, where is it? Auto complete. Option equal to value. True. Hang on a sec. Selected product equals use state. So we will have selected product set selected product, and initially we'll set this to null, and let's specify this over here inside our autocomplete selected product. Okay, we'll get back to that part which is causing the issue, right? Whenever we are updating this, let's implement the search term functionality, right? We'll work on that first, and then we will get back to that part. So here, what we need to do is let's go inside the home component and let's fetch the search term. So const search term equals search params dot get. We want to get this the value right for the search term. Let's specify this over here, and let's add the logic over here that first we are filtering by category. Then what we want to do is filtered products equals if there is a search term, right? In that case, what we want to do is filtered products dot filter. We want to further filter the products, and we want to specify that you want to do say product dot title dot to lowercase dot includes search term dot to lower case, and otherwise we just return the filtered products as it is. Question mark, wait a sec. Okay, so you can see that the search term was solid gold petite this thing, right? So this is what we are getting. Let's try and change this to this one. So we are getting the specific result, right? Suppose I just change this to something like pierced. So we're getting this, or if the search term contains the letter P. So these were the three items which had the, uh, you know, so the text P in them. Okay. So the search functionality is working as well. Suppose we specify something like just WD. So all the items which have the text WD in their title, they are showing up over here. All right. So the search functionality is done to a certain extent. Let's work on styling this now. So let's go inside the header component and let's go inside the select. Okay. So when we are we need to select the before sudo element, and inside that whenever we are hovering over it, we want to set the border to none. All right, and the other thing that we want to do is we want to show this text in white color. So let's work on that part. And similarly, whenever we are targeting the before and the after elements, the pseudo elements, for that also we want to set the border to none. This needs to be in double quotes, so you can see that that side border has gone, right? It is just showing the text electronics. After this we want to set the color for this to white. So let's inspect this element. Um, and if you notice over here, this element has this class, right? Select uh, multi select standard, right? This one, multi MUI. Where is it? Class MUI select MUI uh, s- select standard. So this is the class that we will use to target this element. So we will say whenever we inside this element, and when we are at the MUI select standard, for that element we will say color. We will specify that as common dot white. So this is coming from the theme, so theme dot palette dot common dot white, we can directly access it like this. And the yeah, so you can see now this text is showing up in white color. And similarly for the icon as well over here. So this is the icon. So this has the class MUI select icon or MUI select icon standard. Either one of these we can use. Let's take this one. When this icon is there, we want to specify the fill color as common dot white as well. Now this, for some reason, this doesn't work for the fill. So what we will do is we will say const theme equals use theme. Okay, and here we will specify that this one is theme dot common dot palette dot white. Okay, use theme is not defined. Okay, use theme. Okay, import use theme. And instead of this, we'll use @MUI material slash like this. Okay, what mistake am I making? Cannot read properties of undefined palette. Um, okay, it needs to be theme dot palette dot common dot white, the other way around. Okay, so now you can see that this icon is white as well. Um, let's add some more styling over here. Let's go inside. Let's create another component, const styled auto complete equals styled, and here we'll pass the autocomplete component, right, which we have imported earlier. And then here we will say, let me just copy this structure. Okay, and here we'll just provide some styling. So we'll say color as inherit, then width we'll specify as 100%. Afterwards we'll use this class, so we'll specify, I mean we'll target this element itself, so we'll use the ampersand selector. And then this is a text field, right? So if we go to the documentation and we go inside APIs, so it uses the autocomplete uses a text field, okay? And if we go to the CSS for this, there is this class associated with this text field known as multi text field root. So let's target this because we want to style the text box. So within this element, whenever we have this, we want to target the text box, right? Um, so we will say padding, right? We'll use the calc function. So we'll say one element plus dollar theme dot spacing, and we'll take 4 times the spacing towards the right. And similarly we have another class for the which let's inspect this element. So this is MUI in base MUI input base. Okay, let's target this element. Hang on a minute. Base input. Let's copy this. So whenever we have this element, what we want to do is we want to specify the color, and we'll say theme dot palette dot common dot, not this way, common dot white. Okay, so whatever theme dot palette common white. Oh wait, we still need to use this. Uh, and this, and we are getting this box, right? And you can see that this has a border. So for that, we are going to say ampersand dot, let's find that element, this one. So whenever this element is there, we want to say that the border is none. Okay, all right. And instead of using the default autocomplete, we'll use the styled autocomplete here. And you can see that the text has changed to white and the border part has gone. Okay, let's style this a bit more. There are some options that we need to specify over here: free, solo, right? And we need to give this an ID. Select product. Okay, we have added some styling over here. And let's do one thing, let's also display a search icon. So for that purpose, what we will do is let's create this over here. Const search icon wrapper equals styled, and we want to use another section element over here. Okay, let's copy this. And here what we want to do is we'll give this a padding, theme dot spacing 0, padding from the top and bottom, and padding of twice to in the left and the right. Height of 100%. Position we will set to absolute. And from the right, we want this icon to appear at the right. We will say pointer events, we'll set those to none, and we'll say display flex, and align items center, and justify content to the center as well. And then what we will be doing is importing the search icon. Import from at the rate search. And okay, let's search it from here. Material icons. Let's use this one. All right, and here we will say search icon wrapper, and within this we will pass the search icon like this. So you can see that we have this search icon over here, right? um, and right now the width for this is pretty less. Let's increase the width for this. Let's comment this out, and now you can see that it is taking up the full width. So let's get rid of this. And so we have this, pretty nice component ready, which allows us to, search the items. And uh, let's change the color for this as well. SVG, SVG icon root. Let's go inside our styled autocomplete, and we will say whenever we are inside this element and we have the SVG root icon, for this we want to specify the fill as theme dot. Let's copy this from here. And you can see that this is also appearing in white color now. Okay, so we have been able to successfully style our application over here, create a search bar. There are a few things which we need to work on, right? We'll work on those in the next session, but some of the basic functionality has been done. We are able to you know create a store using Redux Toolkit, load all of the items. We learned about what is an how to create a store, how to create reducers, how to set up actions, how to dispatch actions, and how to load asynchronous data using thunks. And we also learned how to use some of the components from the material UI library, such as autocomplete, select, and we also learned how to customize their styling. So whenever you want to customize the default styling for an element, you go to that element, for example the autocomplete, then you search for the API, you select that element, and then you search for CSS. So it will tell you all the classes which it applies related to that element. Okay, and then you can target these specific classes and change the styling like how we had done over here. So this is how you can customize them. So there are two options available to us. Either we can make use of the SX property and do all the customization over here like this. Or what we can do is we can create a styled wrapper around that element. So suppose we wanted to style the autocomplete, either we could have used the SX property directly on this, or we use the styled implementation where we provide the name of the element, it accepts a theme, and then and then here we do the styling. And where we wanted to use the styled autocomplete, right, we just use that component over here like the regular React component, and whatever properties that it needs, those are all available. Whatever the attributes associated with that element, those are all those attributes we can use. Okay, so this is what we have learned so far. uh, so there are some questions about responsiveness in the chat. So it is responsive up to a certain extent, right? You can see that we had defined uh, based based on the, you know, screen size. We had decided how many elements to show. So that is what we had specified over here, right? When the size of the device is extra small, right? So each card will take up the entire row, right? As you can see over here. Then when it is small, each card will take up 6 of the columns. So you can see that this is taking up 6, this is taking up another 6. And when it is greater than 3, in that case, each column, I mean, whenever we are at medium sizes or above, it will take up 3 columns. Okay, so that is why we are seeing 4 of such uh, items, right? And over here we had specified the max width as large, right? So that is what is happening over here. You can also make it responsive using breakpoints, right? You search for breakpoints and you can, for example, you want to decide what you want to do, so you can use theme.breakpoints. So if you are below medium devices, you can give this background color. So suppose I'm changing this, right now I am above the medium, right? So it is having the main color. If I go below medium, it is having the secondary main color, right, below medium. And when I am above a large size device, it is having this green 500 color. So similarly, you can give dimensions, okay, and use them over here like this. All right, so this is how you can make it responsive. Uh, you can go through you can go through the documentation over here and study the different ways by which you can make your components responsive. All right, so if you guys have any more doubts, we can address them in the Discord voice channel. I'll end this stream here. um, I'll see you guys in the next session. Until then, take care and have a great day, night, whatever time of the day ahead. Okay, take care, bye.